Friends, countrymen, podcast fans, welcome to episode 156, everybody. This is an audible episode because very sadly last week we lost Iceman, we lost Batman, we lost an actor that touched everybody. He was so awesome. We lost Val Kilmer. Very sad day, very sad news. So this is a somber yet exciting episode because we get to honor Val Kilmer in two films that we very much enjoy here at Movies You Miss Podcast. V's pick, definitely. I've been watching that movie since I was a kid. And my pick, which I just very recently saw because I had to narrow it down and pick something other than Batman Forever again. So here we go. Let's get into it. V, how are you today?
I'm right there with you, John. It's a bittersweet episode, but I am excited to have the opportunity to talk about Val Kilmer again. And as we've reflected on how many movies we've covered of his already on this podcast, and you and I were both in the same boat last week when we were thinking about what movies to discuss and wishing that we hadn't covered Tombstone or Batman Forever or Willow.
Yeah.
And I think that it would be a great opportunity for us to replay some of our favorite clips from those movies during this episode to honor him as well.
Great idea. I like that. I think I told you when I was watching Tombstone, and it actually might even be on the episode, that I tried to keep up with his drinking while watching Tombstone, and I don't have any idea what the hell I was thinking while doing that. That was a big, big problem day. I did not finish Tombstone. I had to rewatch it the next day.
I was going to say, how could you remember the movie at that point?
Yeah, after like 35 minutes, I was like, okay, I need to go to sleep.
Or get an
And
IV.
I already was seeing double, so I had a gun for each of you.
Such a good line.
And you, music lover, you're next.
Drunk piano player. You're so drunk you can't hit nothing. In fact, you're probably seeing double.
I have two guns, one for each of you.
Now, if you didn't understand my opening few lines here, you will shortly because those come from V's pick. But before we get into that, let's jump into who V and I are. We're friends for a very long time. We were in the entertainment industry for also a very long time. We're over 30, short from 40. We like to discuss movies here that have fallen under the radar, movies that we feel need to be revisited, and movies that we just very much enjoy. And I feel like both of these movies are completely under the radar, need to be revisited movies.
I totally agree, especially with yours. I don't know anybody else who's ever even heard of the movie. And
oh, yeah.
My pick, like you said, I've been watching it since I was a kid, too.
Sweet. It's one of my parents' favorite movies. I remember taking the VHS down in my bedroom when I had a TV VCR, and I watched it all the time. I think it really just... Well, we'll get into that in a little bit. Let's just keep moving on in the intro here.
Sounds good.
I had heard about my movie when it came out. It's from 2003. I just never saw it. And I think the title of it kind of threw me off, not because of any other reason other than being like, I don't understand the whole premise of it. And then, of course, watching it and learning a little bit more about what goes down in this movie that I chose this week is extremely fascinating and very brutal. It is based on a true story, but we'll get into that in just a little bit. V goes first today. But before we do that, we love to discuss the movies that we've seen in theaters or on streaming this week. So I'm curious, V, did you see anything new?
I'm going to go ahead and take a page from your book and start with the movie that I liked the least.
Okay, I like it.
And that is the new Finn Wolfhard movie, one of the boys from Stranger Things. He wrote this movie and also starred in it. It's called Hell of a Summer.
Oh, yes, I've seen the trailer twice, and it looked somewhat entertaining, but somewhat predictable as well.
It did look somewhat entertaining. It's not actually as predictable as I thought it was going to be, which was nice.
Oh,
However,
nice, yeah.
As a horror comedy, you know I love those. It was pretty boring for a lot of it. The pacing was really off. As soon as people started dying, I thought to myself, oh, great, okay, now we're in it. Now the rest of the movie's going to be entertaining. This is going to be a fun ride. Nope, there would be kills or there would be funny parts, and then there would just be this big lull of a couple scenes. And so I just didn't think that it was put together as well as it could be. The storyline was good, the acting was good. I liked the idea of the film, it just wasn't executed well. And so unfortunately, I'm actually going to put Hell of a Summer on my movies you should miss list.
Well, all right, then I guess I will just have to wait for that one on streaming then.
Yeah, unfortunately, but the second movie I watched, which is also second on my list, is called Death of a Unicorn, and I'll wait to talk about that because I know that's one of the movies you saw this week, so we can talk about it together in a second.
Okay.
And I'll skip to the last, and certainly not least, this is my favorite movie of the week. This is one of my favorite movies of the year so far. I'd seen one trailer for it randomly, I think on YouTube a couple months ago. It stars Pedro Pascal, and it was filmed several years ago because Angus Cloud, the young actor from Euphoria, who unfortunately passed away, is in this movie. So it's one of those films that was made several years ago, sat in post-production, and then finally they're releasing it now. But I absolutely love this film. It's an anthology. It takes place in the Bay Area in 1987. It's so period accurate. It feels like you're back in the 80s, even the way they filmed it. It felt like it was filmed on celluloid. It wasn't perfectly sharp like new digital film is. And I had such a good time with this. As you know, we both love anthology movies. Every single story I loved so much. All of the characters were rich. I wanted to learn more about them. And it had one of my favorite plot points of all movies, which is Nazis getting absolutely wrecked.
Nice. I guess I'm just never going to get the title of this movie.
Oh my God, sorry. I was so excited to talk about it. I didn't even think about it. It's called Freaky Tales.
Freaky Tales. Never even heard of it. Never even no idea what it is. So you just told me, and I don't know if I'll ever watch it. I'm kind of sick and tired of Pedro Pascal, but we'll see. Maybe I'll check it out someday.
Well, I think that'd be a total mistake on your part and a big missed opportunity because this movie is fantastic. I loved every minute of it. Funny enough, kind of like Wild Tales being an anthology from Argentina that I had covered during one of our reviewer request episodes. Freaky Tales is also short stories anthology. Every single storyline is really fun. Ben Mendelsohn is in this movie. There's a lot of supporting actors who you would recognize. And like I said, anytime a white supremacist can get his ass completely beat, I'm going to pay for a ticket. So
yeah, for sure.
It's an independent film. I don't know how long it's going to be in theaters, but I highly, highly recommend it. It's a bit out there. It's certainly a creative film, which is another reason I loved it as much as I did. Go ahead and watch the trailer on YouTube to see what you're getting into. But again, Freaky Tales, one of my favorite movies of the year so far. Please go out and see it if you're interested.
Sounds good.
And what movies did you watch this week?
Last night I went to the theaters and saw the new Paul Rudd and Jenna Ortega and Richard E. Grant and Téa Leoni film that you just said that you were going to wait to talk about with me was Death of a Unicorn.
Yes, and
I'm curious. I'm curious what you thought because you always throw it to me to start what I thought. So why don't you start with what you thought?
I loved this film. I had such a good time. I really enjoyed all the characters, especially the rich family that's in it.
Oh yeah. William Poulter was hilarious.
Yes, he's the kid from We're the Millers. He is certainly Neville Longbottomed in life. He has grown into a very good-looking young man, and he is so good at hiding his British accent. You would never think that guy is not American.
I had no idea.
And Téa Leoni, she did such a good job as the mother. I know you have reservations about Jenna Ortega, but I really hope you enjoyed this film. I loved it. I laughed almost the entire time. It's a really fun horror comedy, and it made me feel like Aliens or Jurassic Park, but with unicorns.
Absolutely. I totally see the Jurassic Park stuff, especially when both the unicorns are trying to break into the house. I had a very good time with it. I laughed a lot, too. It was a movie that I really did not anticipate going the direction it went because I only saw one trailer, and they did a great job not really telling you anything about the movie.
Yeah.
So that was really awesome. Was grateful to only see the trailer one time and not get it shoved down my throat like so many other trailers like last year. But an absolutely great time. I feel like this movie was similar to, like you just said, with Freaky Tales. It was shot a few years ago, unless the makeup and the costumes really made Jenna Ortega look 13. Because she looked like she was super, super young when they shot this movie. But I really enjoyed her character. I thought the special effects were cool. I did not anticipate it being as brutally gory as it was, but it was a complete blast, and I'm glad that we both enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. It's definitely one of my favorite horror comedies of the year so far.
Absolutely. Definitely up there for me, too.
Awesome.
And then I ended up watching a documentary that I've been waiting for almost 2 years to come out, just like every other fan of this magnificent film that just celebrated its 30th year, starring Goofy and Max. This is the Not Just a Goof documentary on the making of a Goofy movie way back from 1993 to 1995 when it was released. Fantastic documentary. It was directed by Kevin Lima's nephew. Kevin Lima is the director of Goofy Movie. He also directed Enchanted and Tarzan, two of my past picks. I loved the documentary, so naturally, of course, right after the documentary, had to watch a Goofy movie. So last night was a very goofy evening for me after watching Death of a Unicorn. So I had a really good time with the movies that I watched last night.
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear that. And where is the documentary streaming? Is it Disney?
It is a Disney Plus documentary, yes.
Awesome.
So it is currently streaming. It just came out on the 7th, which was Monday. So give it a shot if you are a fan of a Goofy movie like myself. it will be on the podcast in the future as well.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that because I haven't seen a Goofy movie yet.
I don't know how that's possible, but we will change that in the very near future.
Awesome.
All right, well, as always, here at Movies and Miss Podcast, keep theaters alive, and yeah, I guess keep streaming alive too. So let's get into a movie from back in the day. We're actually going in chronological order today. That's kind of cool.
Nice.
Sophie, what do you say? You ready to take us to Russia?
Yes, I'm more than happy to because I picked the 1997 Val Kilmer Elizabeth Shue starring The Saint. Dun, 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 dun. I love this movie. My sister loves this movie. My dad loves this movie. John loves this movie. It's a great film, and we've been watching it for almost 30 years. I've been a big fan of it, and I'm so sad that we only got one of them. I think there's an opportunity that it could have been a series. And I learned more about this movie doing research for the podcast this week, and it turns out there really was an opportunity to make this into a series, and I'll get into that in a little bit.
Ah, okay.
But I'm going to talk a little bit about the plot first. We are introduced to Simon. He grew up as an orphan in Eastern Europe and grows up into Val Kilmer.
I love that transition.
Yes, it actually is a really cool transition, and it is believable that kid was playing Val Kilmer.
He was, yeah.
And as an adult, this man named Simon has turned into a pretty talented thief. He works by himself off the grid and uses an internet messaging board for all of his job postings and requests. And his new one is actually going to take place in Russia. He has been hired to steal a microchip from Ivan Tretiak, which everyone will recognize.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's played by Rade Serbejeja. We love him on this show. He was in Eurotrip.
Yep.
In Bratislava. Miami Vice, #1 new show.
#1 new show. Oh, yes, the train's coming very soon. They're building it now.
Stop. Hammer time.
Where's the beef?
He's also
I guess we could just quote him from Eurotrip for the rest of the episode if you wanted to.
I'd be happy to do that too. We love Rade.
Which... yeah, we do.
He also is a scientist in the beginning of the horrendous movie Mission Impossible 2.
Oh, yeah.
If you haven't subjected yourself to that movie, don't.
Definitely do not.
But, funny enough, he's also in Batman Begins because he plays the homeless guy that Christian Bale hands his coat to, and later on he says, "Nice coat."
Yep.
And lastly, he is Boris the Blade, or Boris the Bullet Dodger in Snatch, which is a movie we'll be doing in the future.
Oh, yeah.
So Rade's been around, and he's played some very memorable characters, including in The Saint as Ivan Tretiak, a Russian, even though he is Croatian.
Oh, nice.
And his daughter is also in this movie because she plays the sex worker who helps Val Kilmer out later on in the movie.
Oh, very cool. I had no idea.
Me either, yeah. So Ivan Tretiak is a Russian oligarch. He is an oil and gas billionaire, and he's been working on slowly but surely taking over the Russian government. And this movie takes place a little bit in the future, and I really like how movies do this when they just say tomorrow or a few years from now. They leave it very vague. They don't give a specific date for us, and I really like that.
I like it too.
So Tretiak being a billionaire and trying to take over the Russian government, he hasn't done that ethically. Either one of those things, actually. So he's a pretty bad guy. He also has a son, Ilya, who's also a very bad guy. And so when Simon goes and steals this microchip, we get this introduction into how Simon is a thief. And this is the most entertaining part of the movie. Val Kilmer plays like 15 different guys in this film.
Yeah.
His disguises are top-notch, and so are his accents.
Oh, yeah. Love those.
I love all of the voices he uses for this movie, and he's so sassy with a lot of his characters, too. This movie actually is pretty funny.
It is. It's actually very hilarious. I haven't watched this movie in, 15 years. It's been a long time since I've watched The Saint, so watching it this time around, I had an absolute blast.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, it's been about 8 for me. I've watched it so many times growing up that it needed a natural break.
I think that's what happened with me.
Yeah, it doesn't diminish the love we have for this movie, and so I'm really happy to revisit it for this podcast. And so Simon goes to Russia, steals this microchip, everything goes pretty well, and he goes back to his lair, his apartment that he rents, and he gets a deposit for that theft, and he's talking about how, to himself out loud, how he has $42 million. He can't get to 50. When he gets to $50 million, that's when he'll retire. That's his goal. So clearly he's been doing this for a long time. And so after that successful job, he actually gets a message for another one and messages back and says that they're going to meet in Berlin. And He dresses up as a specific character and meets the potential client, and it turns out to be Ivan Tretiak and his son. He has been tracked. But they pretend like they don't know Simon, and so they hire him, and what they want him to do is steal a formula for cold fusion. It is a theoretical energy solution similar to solar, similar to wind, similar to water. It is environmentally friendly, it is perpetual, it could solve most of the world's energy crisis. And of course, being the billionaire oil and gas baron that he is, Ivan Tretiak wants to get his hands on it. And so he hires Simon to steal it from a scientist. And this scientist turns out to be Elizabeth Shue.
Mm-hmm.
Ivan Tretiak and his son, of course, are planning to kill him because they know that he's the guy that stole the microchip from them in the beginning of the film. And Simon goes off to England to meet with Dr. Emma Russell, like I said, played by Elizabeth Shue. She has been an actress since the 80s. She's been an actress since she was a kid because she was in...
Oh, really?
Yeah, she was in The Karate Kid. It's just a little love interest there.
Oh, right. Yeah,
She's in Adventures in Babysitting. She's in Back to the Future 2 and 3 because she plays Jennifer.
That's right.
The
That's
girlfriend.
right.
Yep.
Yes. That's why they had to reshoot the entire the entire ending of Back to the Future for Back to the Future 2. They had to replace Jennifer.
Yep. She's also in Cocktail with Tom Cruise,
Never saw that one.
Soap Dish, and Leaving Las Vegas.
I hear that's a great one. Haven't seen that one either.
I haven't seen that one either. It came out, I was way too young to watch it when it came out because it's very adult themes, and then I never got around to watching it as an adult. But she also is in several seasons of CSI, and she's really good in it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so she's still acting and has been acting for many, many decades, and she's great in this film. I thought she did a fantastic job because Dr. Emma Russell is pretty quirky, and sometimes you don't really get that believable character when you have this gorgeous actress playing someone who's a little bit antisocial, who's a little bit awkward. It just doesn't really land because you just see them as the gorgeous person that they are, right?
Right, yeah.
And that didn't happen in this film. She's very believable. You have a lot of empathy for her. She's very sweet and clearly very, very smart because now she's about to create this revolutionary energy model. And when Simon first approaches her, he actually has a couple of missteps. And so as we follow him trying to steal this formula for these horrible Russian guys, he becomes really caught in the middle of this. And for the rest of the movie, we follow him and Dr. Emma Russell and Ivan Tretiak and his goons, as well as Interpol getting thrown in there as well, as everybody is racing to not only find this formula, but also claim it for themselves and hopefully make a whole lot of money off of it. And so that is the movie The Saint. It is a great action film. It's a funny film. It's a well-acted film. It has great set pieces. The locations are beautiful and interesting as well. Some of the scenes in front of the Kremlin are really cool. Like we both said, we've loved this movie for 30 years, and I'm so happy to be able to talk about it on the podcast. Obviously not for these reasons this week, but just being able to celebrate this film that I've loved for so long and talk about it to other people got me really excited for this episode. So thank you very much, John, for suggesting we do it.
For sure.
And when I was watching it this week for the show, thoughts of James Bond came up because of the really cool gadgets that he has.
Oh, yeah.
Thoughts of Mission Impossible came up because of all his different costumes and personas that he plays. And
absolutely.
His accents are great. Actually, I'll just do a little bit of a mashup of a couple of them. Just because they're so good.
Think of the drugs you could buy with that much cake. You'll be discoing for a decade in Moscow, mate.
My name is Bruno Hautenfaust. I was named for a saint who was a very wealthy man.
You're married. Not even a year. And already this bastard has a girlfriend.
My name is August Christopher. I was named after St. Augustine.
So if you like those kinds of action movies, I really recommend The Saint. It definitely flew under the radar, unfortunately. And another aspect of this movie that I've always really loved is the fact that Elizabeth Shue's character, Dr. Emma Russell, also has a heart condition.
Yes.
Which it is a complete coincidence that 2 weeks in a row, a main character in my film has a heart condition.
Yeah, that's pretty wild.
Scatica had one too. And it turns out that she probably has an irregular heartbeat because the medication that she takes is propranolol, which is funny because I take metoprolol, which is also in the beta blocker class.
And I take Sodalol.
And you take Sodalol, yeah. That's what I was
and Amy, my wife, used to take metoprolol. So I've been on all the alls.
Yes.
The alls have been in my life for a long time.
Unfortunately, because in my 20s, I did not do well on that medication. I do a lot better with it now, but...
Oh, I love Sodalol. It's great.
So Emma takes propranolol, and there was a close-up shot on her medication bottle, which is how I was able to determine that and figure out that it probably means that she has an irregular heartbeat. And that is why several times in the movie she is lightheaded, she feels really dizzy. We've been there.
Many times.
And the last thing I want to say about this movie before we get into your favorite parts is it has a bangin' 90s soundtrack.
It does. I love the music in this movie.
Especially that Smashing Pumpkins song.
Hell yeah!
So yeah, that is The Saint. Really love it. It also has some really amazing supporting actors as well, including Michael Byrne, who plays Ivan Tretiak's assistant. He's a... I'm going to say this just because he's been seared into my memory from Indiana Jones as a Nazi. He's a crusty old guy. So I wouldn't normally say that about an actor, but he is the awful commanding Nazi in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, a movie I covered in our first year together, actually. And he's the one who's interrogating Henry Jones, Sean Connery, in the tank and slapping him with his gloves.
That's right.
And, oh God, Sean Connery has the best comeback ever about the reading. Goose-stepping morons like yourselves should try reading books instead of burning them.
Yeah. He's also in one of my past picks of Braveheart. He's the one that tries to get on Mirren before the madness actually begins in Braveheart.
Yes, that's right. He's an awful English soldier in that. No wonder I just instinctively hate him whenever I see him on screen. He's too good as a bad guy.
Do you imagine meeting him and he's like the nicest fucking dude in the world? We've talked about that before, like the villains being like really fucking cool and the cool guys being real dicks.
Which, unfortunately, we have encountered in the past as well on set.
Mm-hmm.
So that is Michael Byrne, and he's in The Saint. So yeah, is there anything about the movie that I haven't talked about yet, or some of your favorite parts?
Oh, gosh. Like you said, we've been watching this movie, both of us, I guess, since it came out. I never did see it in theaters. My parents did.
Yeah, I was way too young.
They brought home the VHS immediately when it came out. It's one of my dad's favorite movies. I actually know that my parents watched it last week after they found out that Val Kilmer died because they love this movie so much.
Aww.
So in honor of him, my mom posted on Facebook that they were watching this movie, and I was like, oh, we're going to do this on the podcast. I used to watch this movie quite a bit growing up. The action was great. I always loved the costumes, and I love that you did the montage of all of his accents. And it's crazy because the amount of times I watched this movie from like 1997 up to probably 2005, I have this movie memorized by heart. So I was sitting here just like, I can't wait for this part, can't wait for this part. And they were all great. Revisiting was just a blast. I think one of my favorite scenes is when he's on the plane and Emily Mortimer comes up in red and he's just like, you've been married not even a year, and already this bastard has a girlfriend. And she's like, how do you know so much about me? And I love the whole same thing. Yeah, all that stuff was great. I love when he meets Emma under the guise of this like really nerdy reporter that is going to try and interview Emma about cold fusion. He thinks it's the older woman that's presenting Emma. I love the scene where they're at the rat race. I loved that whole sequence. I actually forgot about that moment, so that was a lot of fun to revisit.
That is a great scene with Rade Serbajeja too.
Oh, hell yeah. Yeah, it's fantastic. And when they're in the sewers and they meet Frankie and she's like, I'll do it for 10,000 American dollars. He's like, no. She goes, okay, 7,000. And I'll do it for the Bulgaria watch that you've got. And I love that whole thing. She was always, when I was a kid, like, damn, she's hot. She's got some crazy teeth, but she's very beautiful.
Because she looks like Famke Janssen.
Exactly. Yes. She totally does. So going back to it, a major fan of this movie. I don't know why I don't own it. I think I've just borrowed it so many times from my parents that I feel like I own it, but I do need to grab the Blu-ray of this if there ever was one made. I'm very interested about the behind the scenes, and it's crazy who directed this movie. I did not know who directed this movie. That's all I looked up was who directed it. I didn't look up anything else as much as I wanted to just to learn about it, but you're going to break that all down for us. So yeah, it's a 2 thumbs up 90s flick, absolutely a blast, and it's crazy to think about, and even watching it now in 2025, literally 28 years later, which is a movie coming out, which I can't wait. What an interesting little plug that I just made there unintentionally. There you go, Danny Boyle. That's yours, baby. I don't think this movie teeters on any sort of cheese. I think it really just is funny. And it's not like, oh, ha, ha, ha. Like, there's laugh out loud moments in this movie.
Yes.
And their majority of them involve Kilmer. And also Tradiak's son, who I always like that guy, and I always wish he did more in American movies, but I guess I don't know if he ever did, but maybe you'll get into that in a minute. It was a great revisit. My wife didn't watch it with me. She was busy, but I think she would actually really enjoy it too, since she likes the Mission Impossible movies. And I loved all his gadgets too. I loved that cell phone that he had that he could open up and like email from. And it's like, wow, this is 1997, although the only thing that really dates it is the technology. Other than that, it could have been shot today and use the same kind of Nokia brick phones and be like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. You know, they're untraceables, they're burner phones, etc. So a great revisit. Very happy to do it on the podcast under these unfortunate circumstances, but definitely one of Val Kilmer's best movies.
I agree with you, and I think the only part that is just semi-cheesy, and that's just me being judgy, I guess, is a little bit of the dialogue between Elizabeth Shue and Val Kilmer at one point in the movie. I was like, it's a little cheesy. It feels a little 90s. Let's put it that way. It's not even cheesy. It just feels a little 90s. But otherwise, like you said, this film holds up spectacularly well. And
very.
That Nokia phone that he uses, first of all, gotta love the Nokias. Still to this day, I really wish they were so indestructible. I really wish we had phones like that still.
I watched one of those conveyor belt press videos the other day, and the phone didn't even break.
Yeah, those things were amazing.
They were trying to do the Nokia bricks. Like, my gosh, that was my first cell phone. I remember that thing.
Oh, I always remember my sister really wanting the Motorola Razr, that being the cool thing that came out. But yeah, Nokia phones were badass.
Those are back apparently now, the Razrs. Paris Hilton's trying to resurgence them, and Amy, of course, wants one because she loves Paris.
Oh, that's too bad. I didn't know that about her. But I think that's really awesome. She likes Mission Impossible movies. So.
Oh, yeah. Big fan of Mission Impossible movies. A little bit of a redemption there.
But in the movie, Simon uses a Nokia 9000 communicator. It was cutting edge at the time because it was only introduced in 96. And it was so cool. Like you said, it was functional as both a cell phone, but it opened up because the phone folded in half long ways.
Yeah.
And when you open it up, there was a keyboard in it, and you could type and send messages.
Yeah.
It was so badass. I loved it so much. Yes, I thought it was so
really cool.
And then when he tells someone to take the phone and talk on it, he's like, the phone goes the other way, moron.
Yeah, that was great.
So and there's a line in that scene that I love so much that I'll play for you guys too.
You know what the hardest part about being you is? Pretending to be so bad in bed.
And you're right, I was really surprised to find out who the director was on this film because, well, first of all, I was really surprised to find out that this was originally a series of books and then a TV show.
Oh, no kidding. That I did not know.
Leslie Charteris wrote a series of books back in the early 20th century, and then in the 50s and 60s it was a TV show. And so this script was bouncing around Hollywood for a long time before it was made into a movie. And Jonathan Hensley was the man who wrote the script for the movie.
I don't recognize that name.
Well, he's written other scripts too, because he was the writer for Die Hard with a Vengeance, the original Jumanji.
Oh, all right.
The Punisher with Thomas Jane and John Travolta.
Nice. Never saw that one either.
Well, Jonathan Hensley was also a writer on Armageddon.
Ah, all right.
So he's been a great writer, especially of action movies, for quite a long time.
Very true.
And the director of this film is Philip Noyce.
Yeah, Noyce.
That's exactly what I thought of too. He directed Patriot Games, The Bone Collector, which is based on a series of books I loved as a teenager.
Oh, cool.
That has Denzel Washington and Angelina Jolie in it.
And Queen Latifah.
Oh, I love Queen Latifah so much. She is my all-time favorite crossover from musician to actress.
Oh, cool. Yeah, she's always been pretty reliable in the movies. I just
really is.
Rewatched Chicago, I think 2 weeks ago. Hadn't watched it in so long, and I love when Mama Morton comes up. She's so badass in that movie.
Can you pick Chicago? Because I haven't seen it in like 15, 20 years. I really need to watch that movie.
Yeah.
Now.
I have the Blu-ray. If it ever comes on 4K, I'm getting that shit. It's such a... I loved Chicago. I saw it in theaters. I still love it. It's so great. But I will definitely put it on the list.
We should do that and Moulin Rouge together or something.
Ooh! Well, I want Moulin Rouge too.
Okay, that's fair.
We'll see.
And
I gave you The Saint, and I gave you a couple other good ones, too.
You have lately, yes, I know. That's why I immediately acquiesced to that, because I know it's definitely your turn.
Ooh,
and
nice word use.
Oh, thank you. Well, you also get to do The Greatest Showman, because you're the one who introduced me to it.
Look at that.
So apparently I need to get going on some musical picks so we can actually do them in the future.
Yeah, you do. There's plenty of them out there.
Yeah, but not many that I've watched, so...
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and so back to the movie. This is the first big screen Saint movie since the 50s, and all of the iterations still use the character of Simon, and plans for a Saint movie dated back to the 80s before they made this film in 1997.
Oh.
Pierce Brosnan was the lead contender for Simon.
Oh, wow.
And the movie was supposed to be produced by Roger Moore, both James
whoa.
Bond.
Yeah. That would have been weird to see Brosnan as Simon. I don't know.
Well, I don't think he ever would have been James Bond if he did that movie.
I think you're right, but at the same time, like I personally don't want Brosnan to ever hide his face. He's just such a handsome guy.
Oh.
Like you just want to just look at him all the time.
Yeah, that's what I do. Anytime chance I get.
Thomas Crown Affair.
Even now, as an older gentleman, he just did a photo shoot with Aston Martin and he's 71 and he's still so hot.
Wow, he's 71? I want to watch his new show, Mobland, with him and Helen Mirren. I want to check that out. At least give the first episode a shot.
Yes, I've been watching Longmire on Paramount Plus under your sign-in, actually. And for most of the ads, there's a Mobland commercial. And yes, Tom Hardy's in it. It looks so good. I'm really excited for it.
That's another reason why I was like, oh yeah, Hardy's in that.
So we don't normally plug TV shows on this podcast at
No,
all,
we don't.
But Mobland on Paramount Plus looks really cool.
It does. But back to The Saint.
I thought that was a really cool connection with Pierce Brosnan being considered because a lot of this movie feels sort of American James Bond-ish, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And to continue on that thread, there's a radio announcer towards the end of this film that comes on and talks about things that are happening. That's the voice of Sir Roger Moore.
Oh, no way.
Who not only was James Bond, but also played the Saint in the early 60s on British television.
Very cool. I had no idea.
I didn't know this was a character who'd been around before.
I had no clue either.
I just love the character. I love any opportunity we have. Similar to Hitman with Glenn Powell, right? Any opportunity we have to see an actor stretch their legs a little bit and play a couple different characters in a movie, I'm all for it.
As am I.
And Val Kilmer even really enjoyed making this movie because in his autobiography, which is titled I'm Your Huckleberry,
hey,
perfect title, Val Kilmer explained that he actually intended this film to be the first installment of a series, and he planned to produce them as well. But it just, for one reason or another, didn't work out, and that is not due to the financial issues of this movie because it actually didn't have any. This movie had a $68 million budget. Funny.
68?
Yeah, it's kind of a lot, right?
Holy shit.
It's kind of a lot.
Did Val Kilmer get like $55 million to make this movie?
Well, everything was on location. There are some pretty big explosions in this film. But yes, that is a lot.
That's a lot of money. Damn.
It really is. And we actually picked this movie at the perfect time. I mean, for unfortunate circumstances, obviously. But this movie was released April 4th of 1997.
Oh, wow. Look at that.
But the good news is, even though it had a $68 million budget, it made $61 million in the United States.
Oh, damn.
And nearly $120 million worldwide. This is considered a financial success. I guess the marketing didn't cost as much. Back in the day, marketing didn't cost as much as it does these days.
That's true,
And
yeah.
I swear... If someone came to me one day and showed me the books of a production company and showed me how they are totally bullshitting all the budget and numbers and how some movies aren't making enough money, I would totally believe them. If they are laundering money or swindling it or skimming off the top, I would not be surprised at all because I think so many times when there's press releases about some movie losing a shit ton of money, I'm like, how is that even possible?
I know. It's really nuts. I don't even pretend to understand. No fucking clue.
I think they borrow from Peter to pay Paul in a lot of production companies, unfortunately.
Well, it's also interesting to think about like the budget. You know, the studio is involved, but then you watch these opening credits and it's like executive producer comes up 13 different fucking times. And there's like 5 or 6 in all of those EP credits. So it's like, okay, so maybe that's where the money's coming from. Although a lot of those EP credits are, you know, nepotism. Like, oh, we'll just give you an EP credit.
Yeah.
Like, I've seen that happen way too much. But either way.
Well, and also all the logos of the production companies before the movie even starts, right? And there's like 6 different title cards of production houses before they get going on the film.
I think Family Guy, that was like one of the most brilliant things that they ever did. I don't know if you've seen that one. With their, Peter's at the movies and it's like, I'm not even lying, I think it's like 4 minutes. And Peter's like, oh, all right, cool, a Universal movie. And then the next one comes up, he goes, cool, all right, we're on a boat. Oh, geez. And it's like another logo. And then, so we're going to space. Geez, it's another production company. And it just keeps happening and happening and happening and happening. And it's now that's kind of a thing now, like with a lot of like the lower budget movies that are coming out after a studio buys it. I think it was Flow. There's like 17 studios, quote unquote, that are involved in the production of making Flow. So it's a true thing. It's crazy. And then here I am trying to sell my screenplay, and none of these fucking production companies want to buy it.
And so even though this movie made a good amount of money, it was listed as a financial success, especially because this was the 90s. It did really well with VHS and DVD sales. I do remember that.
Oh, I can only imagine. Yeah.
And so I don't know exactly what the reason was. I would have loved a series of these films, just like Mission Impossible, just like James Bond. It would have been great.
Yeah, that would have been pretty badass. I would have loved to have seen more of Kilmer as Simon and so many more characters that he could have played throughout the series of movies.
Mm-hmm. And so that is The Saint. We both really love this film and hope you all give it a shot or revisit it. I know a bunch of people who are listening right now have seen it. Actually, several of you have seen it with me. So please go ahead and revisit it. It is currently streaming on Paramount Plus. And you're right, there are no ads in it just at the very beginning, which if you're a streamer and you're going to put ads in, putting them at the front, I am totally okay with that.
Oh, please. That's the only way that you should do it. Always at the beginning. And I don't care if it's 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Just don't interrupt a movie.
I agree. Shows are a completely different matter, obviously. But ads at the beginning, I couldn't care less. I'll go up and make tea. And John, thank you so much for allowing me to choose a saint, considering the deep love that both of us have for this film.
Oh, for sure. It should have been a flip a coin situation, or we should have just dedicated the episode to the saint, but Val Kilmer has quite the filmography, and we wanted to add a little bit of salt and pepper to this episode this week.
And I think that is a great description because your pick is certainly the polar opposite from mine.
Oh, big time. Yes, it is. It's well, should we get into it?
I think it's that time.
All right, sweet. I chose a film from 2003 based on a true story. This film is written by James Cox, Captain Masner, Ted Samovitz, and D. Lauriston Scott. This film is directed by James Cox. Oddly enough, that last name works for this type of a film.
Really? Yes, it does.
This film stars the man Val Kilmer, Lisa Kudrow, Kate Bosworth, Christina Applegate, Carrie Fisher, Dylan McDermott, Michael Pitt, Ted Levine, Paris Hilton in a small role, Tim Blake Nelson, Josh Lucas. I mean, this is definitely a who's who of early 2000s actors that were kind of working their way up through the food chain of Hollywood.
I was shocked every time somebody else popped up on screen who I recognized.
Same. I think the biggest one for me was Carrie Fisher, though. I was like, wait a minute, what is going on here?
And she plays this religious person who's trying to save the dregs of Los Angeles.
Yes, it was very entertaining.
Mm-hmm.
I love the way this film is shot. It's super gritty. It's very dirty. It's grimy. It's a really fucked up story. And like I mentioned before, it's based on a true story, so that's even more twisted.
Yes, and because of our ages, I had no idea that this story existed. It was fascinating to learn about it, that's for sure.
Very, very much so. So let's get into it. This film, Wonderland, is centered on John Holmes. If you don't know him by name, I really wouldn't hold that against you in any regard. This guy was one of the first male porn stars that was somewhat of a household name back in the 70s and the 80s.
Yes, I wouldn't hold it against you if you did know his name either, though.
Right. This film opens up with us meeting Dawn Schiller, played by Kate Bosworth. She's on the streets and not doing so well. This is when Carrie Fisher's character picks her up. She plays Sally Hansen, and she takes her in and just kind of tries to clean her up a little bit because she's definitely coming down off of whatever drugs that she's been on. And Dawn is constantly saying that, oh, don't worry about it. My boyfriend's going to find me. He'll pick me up, and everything's going to be fine. And I'm just waiting for John to pick me up. At one point or another, John does finally come and pick her up from Sally's house, but they don't really leave right away. They just kind of go into the bathroom, do coke, and start to have sex, and it just kind of gets really strange and twisted. And this right here is where the movie begins to become a very fascinating film.
It really is, and I got a lot of the same vibes of Spun while watching this movie.
Yes, very much so. Not as frenetic as Spun, but definitely like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, it's very grimy and dirty and just like, I really felt like taking a shower afterward.
Yeah, and because we're following around a couple of drug addicts the whole movie.
Yeah, exactly. So John and Dawn are kicked out of Sally's house, of course, because Sally, like you just mentioned, V is some Christian trying to rid the world of the filthy and the drug addicts and the porn stars and whatnot. John and Dawn end up in a hotel, and John again disappears. Dawn wakes up the next morning, and the TV's on, and she starts to see this investigation that's about to go down, and the fact that there's been a whole bunch of really terrible murders going on in Los Angeles, and they don't have any suspects. They're just trying to figure out who would possibly do something like this. And they ultimately end up becoming, similar to like the Ultimate Evil in that book, where David Berkowitz was the Son of Sam killer, the Boston Strangler. They kind of add a little bit of like pizzazz to these investigations so that people can pinpoint which one you're talking about. And this one ultimately becomes the Wonderland murders. And we end up finding out that Ron Lanius and a couple of his henchmen and a few women have been completely destroyed, brutally massacred. Ron was a very wealthy drug dealer that John Holmes had his foot in the door with, for all the cocaine that he could ever possibly want. John ends up telling Ron about Ed Nash, who's a very wealthy man about town, tells him that he's got a whole bunch of money and a bunch of jewelry that they can rob and that they can use to, of course, just buy more drugs. So one thing leads to another. Ron, played by Josh Lucas, and his group of merry men, but Billy, played by Tim Blake Nelson, it was also another moment where I was like, oh shit, Tim Blake Nelson from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, and a couple other movies too. I like Tim Blake Nelson. Oh, also Ballad of Buster Scruggs from the past.
Yeah.
So these two guys go in, rob Nash, completely beat the shit out of him, and steal a whole bunch of money and a lot of jewelry, a lot of drugs as well, a whole bunch of cocaine. And they think they got away with it scot-free. They don't think that any repercussions are going to come of this. Well, of course there are, because Edward Nash gets a tip that John Holmes was involved in the planning of this robbery. So Nash gets Holmes back to his place, basically threatens his life, telling him that if he does not tell me who orchestrated this robbery against me, I'm going to kill everybody in your little black book, and starting with your mother and your grandmother and your entire family, the typical sort of thing. So John ultimately has no other choice but to tell Nash who were the perpetrators of this robbery so that he can save not only his family but his own ass. And Nash goes out and retaliates against these guys. And for the rest of the movie, we, as an audience member, just like the detectives, we're trying to piece together what exactly went down, because we get a whole lot of different perspectives of how the orchestration went down, how the robbery went down. We have a character played by Dylan McDermott, who I think he might be my favorite character in the movie. I thought his breakdown of the robbery was fantastic. I love the way that it was shot. The editing in this movie is really badass, and I love the fact that Ted Levine is a detective again. Just like in The Fast and the Furious, he plays a detective, and he played a detective on Psych for so many years after he plays Buffalo Bill way back in the day in Silence of the Lambs. It's just hilarious how actors transition from role to role, I think.
I just think it's hilarious that he went so much in the opposite direction from Buffalo Bill in order not to get typecast as a killer or as an evil guy. He's now been typecast as the military man, the cop, the straight-laced dude. It's so funny he went to the other extreme end of the spectrum.
Absolutely. Now, this is the first time I've ever seen this movie. I remember it being advertised way back in like 2004. I used to get this movie and The Salton Sea mixed up all the time.
All the time.
And I always thought, yeah, okay, cool, I'm not the only one. For whatever reason, I always thought that The Salton Sea was this movie, and that this movie was The Salton Sea, and the stories were swapped. And
same.
It's strange. I've only ever seen the trailer for Salton Sea one time. I think the Wonderland trailer once or twice. It might be on a couple of DVDs I own. But I'm really glad that I was able to watch it this time around, and not only in honor of Val Kilmer, but just as a movie experience, because I had no idea about the Wonderland murders. I had no idea that John Holmes was so involved in this kind of seedy underbelly of Los Angeles in the 70s and 80s. I knew he started out in San Francisco, and that's where his porn career began. Which, don't ask me how I know that, but it always
comes down to white drugs ruining everything.
I know, yeah.
Oof, stay away.
I don't recommend it at all. But beyond the cast and the way the movie's shot, the soundtrack is great. After watching it, I did a little bit of sleuthing on Google, and there's a couple of books out there on this, and I think I'm very likely to read one or two of them because I'm a big true crime fan, and V, I know you are. So let's get into what your opinion is on Wonderland for your first viewing in honor of the now late Val Kilmer.
Yes, absolutely. Happy to. I've been meaning to watch this movie since it came out 20 years ago. Same with Salton Sea, actually. So you and I need to watch that too at some point. But I will push back and say this is actually the second time you've ever watched it, because you watched it last week with commercials and you were so pissed about it, and I was too, because commercials are terrible, especially in a movie like this. And so we ended up watching it again without commercials, and it was a much better experience.
It was, yes. I think the only reason I'm saying the one time is because it felt like it was the first time, because there were no commercials, and I actually was able to sink my teeth into it and really pay attention instead of being like, fuck, another set of 15-second commercials.
And it's just so jarring in a movie like this. So I agree with you. I'm glad.
Yeah, I would have hated to have ever watched this on like TNT or USA. I don't know if it would ever be put on
No,
those
it would
channels.
be about a 20-minute movie because it'd be so edited.
Exactly.
This gave me a lot of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood vibes just because of the infamous nature of the murder. And so I thought that was kind of an interesting connection my brain made as well. But it's a lot dirtier, definitely more like Spun in that way. It's brutal.
Yes.
It's certainly a hard R movie, but I really enjoyed my time as well. I thought Val Kilmer did a great job as John Holmes. Or just being a desperate drug addict, being someone who isn't trustworthy, being someone who people kind of roll their eyes whenever he shows up, like, oh, God, he's here to ask for something, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Yeah.
movie did a great job portraying that. I loved all the different characters, and like you said, so many different actors in this film. Every time they'd pop up, I said the same thing. I was like, oh, shit!
Yeah.
I love Lisa Kudrow in this movie. I like that there is unreliable narrators as well. I really have enjoyed movies like that tell the story. And when you're at the very end, you're like, what exactly did happen, though?
Yeah. I know. It's so crazy.
There's some really good action in this movie, too. And there's a point where somebody jumps over a table that's pretty epic, actually.
Yeah, it was pretty wild, yeah.
And so, yes, I really like the film. The only thing I would push back on is Dylan McDermott's role because, and I'll tell you why, I liked the character.
Okay.
I like that they have some biker guys in there. I like what they're trying to do. But Dylan is a pretty boy who's very clean. And so you can put as many wigs and fake goatees and fake tattoos on that man as possible. It's still Dylan McDermott. And so,
see, I didn't think so. I guess maybe because I think I honestly might have only ever seen him in my best friend's wedding, and that was so long ago that I just don't associate him that way. I mean, I know he's definitely a handsome guy. He's got those piercing eyes, but I thought the biker look on him worked. I really liked his performance.
Oh, see, I remember him for years and years and years being in The Practice as a clean-cut lawyer. And so that's really all I can see. And yeah, he was super clean cut in my best friend's wedding too.
Yeah.
And so I think that was a miscast. However, that being said, the rest of the movie I was super happy with. Kate Bosworth does a great job as the girlfriend.
Yeah, she was really good.
Oh, you love her, but you also pity her, and you just want to hug her and give her some therapy and drug rehab programs.
Absolutely.
I think this is a cool movie. I think it's highly underrated. I think it's a great performance by Val Kilmer. I'm so glad you picked it this week. Like I said, I'm sorry that we didn't just both do The Saint, but we do 2 movies a week
all
here.
good.
And and I'm just so grateful that you introduced both of us to it, and now you can introduce our audience to it as well.
So yes, like V said, if you are looking to stream this movie, there's an app called Plex. You can watch it there.
Don't do it.
It's all commercials,
Yeah,
so
rent
don't
it.
do it.
Rent it.
Yeah, rent it on Apple for $3.99, and I know we do that at the end, but that's where you can watch Wonderland. I got a little bit of BTS about this movie. I think my favorite BTS of the entire movie is the fact that it's based on a true story and that this actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
That's just a major thumbs up for me, especially when it's done well. You know, a lot of those like, oh, based on a true story. And I'm not talking like Forensic Files or like Rescue 911, because a lot of times those dramatizations, they're just really terrible. And I did a couple of TV shows like that, and I just remember being off camera and being like, wow, the acting is so awful in this. And
That's
this,
why I like
was,
Dateline.
yeah, exactly. No reenactments, no dramatization, none of that. Although this is a major dramatization, but it's done very well.
Yeah, because it's a movie. It's great.
Yes, and they had the time to do it, and they had the budget, and we'll get into that in just a little bit. So let's get into some of the BTS, what Val Kilmer did to prepare for this role as John Holmes. He grew his hair out. That is his real hair. And what's actually really cool...
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it is. It actually looks really good on him. I like it. But what's really cool about his hair growth is that he was growing his hair for this movie while shooting another movie that I almost picked on this, but I watched it, and while I still enjoyed it, it's just a little bit too much on the cheeseball side. It was a film called Mindhunters with Val Kilmer, LL Cool J, Patricia Vasquez. Johnny Lee Miller was in it too. Val Kilmer had like 8 minutes in it. I thought he had a bigger role, but anyway, he was preparing for this movie while shooting Mindhunters, and Val Kilmer ended up spending a lot of time with Sharon Holmes, who was John Holmes' wife, who Lisa Kudrow plays in the movie. And he, in the movie, is wearing a necklace with a ring on it, and that was his actual wedding band that he gave Sharon. And
Whoa.
She kept it for a little while. So Sharon gave that necklace with the ring on it to Val Kilmer to wear during the production of this movie. And in real life, Sharon Holmes and Don Schiller are actually very good friends, even to this day. So when the movie ended up wrapping and Val Kilmer gave that necklace back to Sharon, Sharon gave that necklace to Don.
Oh,
That's very fascinating. Yeah, they Sharon took Dawn under her wing and really kind of got her clean and got her back to reality, if you will, other than, the coked out life that she was living for so long.
well, that's nice to hear.
Yeah, very sweet, very sweet. Val Kilmer and Josh Lucas decided that it would be fun to actually spend a night in the house of the Wonderland murders on the anniversary of the actual murders while doing this movie.
Nope.
There's something about doing that kind of thing that truly does fascinate me. Like, I kind of want to do it. I want to believe that I can do it, but I don't think I can do it. I don't know if it's because of what's happened in there, what could possibly be lingering in there, because I do believe in the supernatural. I believe that there is unfinished business for everybody, and you might be lingering around on planet Earth until you can move forward to the next dimension or wherever it is you decide you think you're going to go. But it's like you mentioned earlier, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Now that movie goes a completely different direction than the actual Charlie Manson murders.
Right.
However, that house is still livable, and people live in the house that Sharon Tate was murdered in. And could you imagine, it's like, oh, you have a party and you're like, oh, this is the house Sharon Tate was murdered in. I would probably leave. I don't know if I could just like have fun in a house like that.
Well, it's one thing to own a house or visit someone who owns the house that a murder took place. That happens a lot, and there are laws around real estate agents having to disclose that. However, just going to a place as almost like a tourist attraction to visit because there was a murder there, it feels very gross and exploitive to me. I could never do that.
Right.
I want to respect the dead, especially if something horrific like a murder happened.
Yeah.
I want to stay away from that.
I think I'm with you on that. I've driven by houses in Hollywood that I've read about that have had crazy shit go down, and just driving by them or parking in front of me, like, that's where it happened. Driving away, boom. That's all I can really do. I might be able to go inside and just kind of stand in there for a minute. I mean,
Yeah, but I see that as a bit different than, hey, we're filming this movie, let's go spend the night at the house that it happened in. I guess that's like a little method. I guess you could count that as research. To me, though, I think it's a little icky.
Exactly. I would love to go see the real Amityville house, but I don't know if I could actually go inside. Now, speaking of going a little method, Val Kilmer became so immersed in the role of playing John Holmes that he started a photography project that ended up becoming a massive behind-the-scenes picture book of the making of the movie Wonderland.
He was a prolific photographer.
Yeah, that, unfortunately, the behind-the-scenes pictorial that he made and shot was never released, and I'm hoping that in a memoriam way, we might be able to get that released now. I think that would be very fascinating to see.
I would love it if his children released some of the photos that he took throughout his life. I think he did a couple of small shows in LA, if I remember correctly. But yes, he was passionate about photography. I do remember reading that about him. That's cool that he did it on the set of Wonderland. I didn't know that part.
Yes, he took pictures and home videos on just about every set that he ever worked on, and that's showcased in the Val documentary that's on Amazon Prime right now.
Yeah, and his children are involved in that documentary too.
On the DVD of Wonderland, they include the actual police investigation tape of the crime scene as a special feature. And I think that's one reason why I kind of want to get a physical copy of Wonderland.
Oh, God, that's brutal.
It is a little brutal, yes, but I'm fascinated. It's just super fascinating.
Crime. Yeah.
True crime.
I get it.
This film was originally announced back in 1998, and there was an actor attached to play John Holmes. V, you really like this actor. We have discussed him several times. Actually, you have, because you've done 2 movies that he is the star of. Both of them are written and directed by James Cameron.
Leonardo DiCaprio. No, I'm kidding. Is it Michael Biehn?
It's Michael Biehn.
Yeah.
That would have been pretty wild.
Speaking of Tombstone, starring Val Kilmer, Michael Biehn is
Oh,
in
that's
that
right.
film.
That's right. I completely forgot that he was in that.
Oh, he's Johnny Ringo. How do you forget?
I have only seen Tombstone 3 times, and the last time was 2 years ago when we did it for the podcast, so I'm way behind on giving that another go.
Then here is one of my favorite quotes about Johnny Ringo from that movie.
Why, Johnny Ringo, you look like somebody just walked over your grave.
Ooh. Very, it's funny. So many people love Tombstone, but all they can ever quote is the "I'm your Huckleberry" line, and it's.
There's so many other good
annoying.
lines. There
really are.
Not me.
And I don't even.
I'm in my prime.
My favorite one is the you're too drunk to shoot straight. He goes, "That's why I brought 2 guns, one for each of you." I think that's my favorite line in the entirety of Tombstone.
My favorite line will always be Kurt Russell and Hell Followed With Him speech, but
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
in terms of Val Kilmer, he's got some great one-liners. There are so many more than Huckleberry.
Maybe poker's just not your game, Mike. I know. Let's have a spelling contest.
Definitely.
This is your reminder to watch Tombstone.
There it is. All right, I will get on that again. This film was shot in 18 days, which makes sense.
Oh no! There
Yeah, it
are
does,
a
it
lot
does.
of complex physical action sequences in this movie, told from different perspectives, and therefore needing to be filmed multiple ways.
Right.
I would
Well,
have,
in an 18-day shoot, they did a very good job with it.
yeah, because I would have pictured 38 days.
Oh, really? You think so?
Yeah.
When I was watching it, I kind of started to think like, oh, it's kind of like the other movies I did. Probably a 3-week, maybe 4-week shoot. It seemed like the attention to detail and the dedication was just there from everybody, so they could really just plow through. I don't know how many takes they did of everything, but wow, it's very impressive that they did this in 18 days.
Especially because there's a lot of makeup and I'll just leave it at makeup. There's a lot of makeup work in this movie that's needed throughout it. That's impressive. I think the absolute minimum would have been in like 28 days. 18 is just bonkers.
It's pretty crazy.
That's very impressive.
But it yeah, it is very much so, and it definitely can be done.
Apparently.
This film was released on October 24th of 2003. It had a budget of $5 million, which makes sense.
Yeah, 18-day shoot. I get it.
Yeah. Val Kilmer very likely took home a very nice paycheck, and everybody else, I'm sure, had a great time and got a nice little paycheck as well, but seemed to, like I said, the cast was just so involved, and I really believed everybody was their character. They all, and I know you have your reservations about Dylan McDermott, but again, it was good stuff.
Yes, and I was always really impressed that Val Kilmer decided, I mean, he'd been a star since the 80s, and then he was Batman in the 90s, and then
Yeah.
he just kind of did whatever the hell he wanted to for the rest of his career, which I respect. And so he did a lot of these small independent projects just to stretch his legs, I would assume, in terms of his art a little bit more. And on a $5 million budget, I would think he got maybe $1 million.
I would think that that's solid to estimate. The gross domestically was only $1,060,000, so it didn't do super great. It was I guess seems to be somewhat of a limited release. It was not a massive worldwide release, but they did have a worldwide box office intake of just under $2.5 million. So it certainly did not make its budget back, but anybody that I've ever talked to over the last 20 years that has seen this movie and that's a fan of Val Kilmer has always recommended I watch it. So I'm very grateful that I was able to give it a shot this time around and was able to introduce not only me, but you, V, as well, to Wonderland from 2003.
Yes, me too. And I would assume that it just had a pretty... I remember only seeing a couple trailers for this movie. It had a pretty small marketing budget, given it was an independent film. I would think that it probably did the festival circuit, and that's where they wanted to get a lot of their traction. But yeah, it's too bad it didn't make much in theaters, because it is a great film.
Very much so. I have done the year 2003 before, but let's get into some of the highest grossing films of 2003 because it's a lot of fun. The number 1 highest grossing film was Finding Nemo. Number 2 was Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl. Number 3, Matrix Reloaded. Number 4, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. So the 2, 3, and 4 were franchise films.
I mean, we've been able to say that for box office intakes for the last
For a long
20
time.
some odd years.
I know.
Top 10 are always full of sequels and franchise movies, and so anytime anybody on the internet or in person ever likes to complain to me about how Hollywood doesn't have any new ideas, I always point to box office charts and say, well, when people stop going to those franchise and sequel films and start going to these smaller independent movies or original product movies, similar to the ones we just discussed at the top of our show for the movies we saw this week,
Yes.
Hollywood will start making more of them. So
That's true.
put your money where your mouth is.
5th highest grossing movie, a fantastic comedy that's going to be on one of our lists in the future, starring Jim Carrey and Jennifer Aniston and Morgan Freeman as God, Bruce Almighty.
I want to pair Fun with Dick and Jane with that. You can have it.
Okay, I'll take Bruce Almighty then, because I did not like Fun with Dick and Jane.
I know. I'm going to reintroduce you to it, similar to
We'll see.
LA Confidential, and hopefully you'll like it this time.
Yeah, it's possible. Number 6 highest grossing film, another franchise film, the best until the Days of Future Past came out, X2, X-Men United.
Oh, goddamn, that's such a good movie.
So good.
Other than Batman, have we done any comic book movies yet?
I don't think we have, and
All right.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of comic book movies that we definitely can do.
Yes, I know that some great 90s classic comic book movies are coming up in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Number 7 was Elf. Number 8, Chicago. Number 9, another franchise film, Terminator 3, Rise of the Machines. And the 10th highest grossing film of 2003, a film that you and Ivy watched together but fell asleep in the first hour because we were so damn tired from all the other movies that we were watching, Bad Boys 2.
The movie we fell asleep to, and your wife walked in and took a picture of us on the couch together.
Yes, she did. She loves doing that.
And just made fun of us incessantly the next morning.
Yep. So that is Wonderland, everybody. Like I said, it is streaming on Plex. Don't recommend that app at all. So you can rent it on Apple or Amazon for $3.99. 2 thumbs up in both of our eyes here, so 4 thumbs up. Great film. Give it a shot, especially if you don't know anything about the Wonderland murders.
Can confirm.
Sophie, I'm curious, would you watch The Saint with your grandmother?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's a really fun action film. Very tame in terms of violence. There's no sex in it. But you and I started watching this when we were super young, like 11 or something? 12, something like that.
That's
it. So yeah, great film. Highly recommend. And John, would you watch Wonderland with your grandma?
Definitely not. I don't think Grandma would like that movie at all.
Agreed. It's a hard R. I think we should definitely follow the recommendation of the rating for this one.
I'm with you on that. And just to continue on talking about Val Kilmer for a little bit longer, we wanted to go over some of his other credits. So, V, if you want to take it away and remind our audience of the other films that Val Kilmer's in and that we might have already done here on the podcast.
Absolutely, it would be my pleasure. These are actually the 5th and 6th movies of Val Kilmer's that we've picked on this show so far.
All right.
In episode 9, I picked Tombstone, as we've discussed. And then in episode 19, I picked Willow, which you didn't like that much, and that's a travesty because I love that film. He plays Mad Mardigan, and it's a great fantasy movie. Definitely kid-friendly. Highly recommend the movie Willow. And then for episode 39, you picked...
Batman Forever.
You called me here for this. The bat signal is not a beeper.
That's right. And then for episode 60, I picked the classic Heat.
Hell yeah.
I love him in that film, too. God damn.
Great movie.
That's a great movie. And some of his other credits are Top Secret, a comedy from the 80s apparently I need to watch.
Yeah. I've been seeing that one pop up a lot over the last couple of days.
Same. Also Real Genius. And then, of course, he was Iceman in Top Gun.
Yes.
Jim Morrison in The Doors, where he actually sang the songs in the movie.
Yeah. I got to see that movie. I have not seen that one.
I saw it once in my 20s. It's intense, but really good. He's in a movie where he plays an FBI agent that I almost picked for this week, but I think I'm going to save it for a Mother's Day episode because my mom loves it so much. I think she's going to pick it either this year or next year, actually. It's called Thunderheart.
Oh, I've never even heard of it.
It's a really good film, and he's great in it, of course. Graham Greene's in it, too. It's a good movie.
Oh, cool.
And then he's also in True Romance, The Ghost in the Darkness, which is funny because Emily Mortimer plays his wife in The Ghost in the Darkness.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. He's in a future pick of mine called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang with Robert Downey Jr. That's hilarious. And
looking forward to that one.
Yes, me too. It's either this Christmas or next Christmas. And the last movie I want to mention, which is the last movie he was ever in, a favorite of both John and I, a movie that'll probably be on this podcast at some point in the future just to give us an excuse to watch it again.
Yeah.
He reprised his role as Iceman in Top Gun Maverick.
Hell yeah. What a way to go out.
Yeah, and so what are some of his movies that you like, John?
Most of the ones you mentioned, except for the ones that I haven't seen, which are just a small handful, and some of the ones I'm a big fan of, I'll just mention. I really am a fan of The Prince of Egypt. He plays Moses and the voice of God in that movie. It's a really, really good animated tale of the 10 Commandments in Moses. It's very well drawn, and the music is fantastic.
Never saw it.
Oh, it's great. It's on the list. It's definitely a good movie.
Okay.
Mindhunters, like I mentioned before, he had a very small role in the first season of Entourage where he plays a weed Sherpa, and he is hysterical in that scene. I think he might be in the episode for maybe 3.5 minutes, but he's really, really funny. He plays Alexander's father in Alexander with Oliver Stone, working with him again many years later after doing The Doors. He also stars along Denzel Washington in Deja Vu, which is a lot of fun. I haven't watched that movie in a long time, but I remember really liking it. He was also in Red Planet with Carrie-Anne Moss. he just had a very illustrious career, and the fact that he got to play Iceman one last time was definitely awesome, and what Tom Cruise said about him was also very touching, and everybody seemed to really respect the guy. Not only did we respect him, but he was respected across the board in Hollywood and with just about everybody they ever worked with. So it was really cool getting to revisit both of these movies and discuss his legacy that he's left behind at the age of 65. But we will always continue to discuss Val Kilmer, especially in movies coming up like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. And I love Batman Forever and The Saint, so I'll definitely be watching those movies multiple times throughout the rest of my life, I'm sure.
Right there with you.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this episode. This is episode 156 in memoriam of Val Kilmer. Please do rate, review, subscribe, follow us on all social medias. A watch party is in the works with V and I in the future. If you win the next reviewer-requested contest that we have here, please keep an ear out for that. And if you care to follow along, V and I are going to do something that is just going to be so much fun. We are going to have a redemption for Snow White, because the new movie is such a pile of garbage that we wanted to make everybody forget about it and go with some of the better versions of Snow White. So, V, which Snow White adaptation did you choose?
I chose a movie that my father introduced me to back when I was a teenager. It came out, funny enough, it came out in 97. I haven't been meaning to do a streak of 1997 movies. It's just been happening that way. Apparently 97 is another year I adore. But it came out in 97, which means I might have been a little young for my father to introduce me to this movie, because it is
maybe
creepy as shit. It is called Snow White, A Tale of Terror. It stars Sigourney Weaver and Sam Neill, and you can rent it from a bunch of streaming services right now. Highly recommend this film. I'm really excited to revisit. I haven't seen it in about 10 years, so stoked to have it on the podcast.
As am I. I just watched it for the first time. Within the last 3 months, my wife went down this fairy tale rabbit hole of movies that she'd never seen and wanted to see, and that was one of them. So we bought it on Apple and watched it, and we'll get into it when we discuss it next week.
Which means your wife's going to give you shit and say, didn't you just watch that film? When you watch it next week.
Exactly.
So, John, what Snow White rendition did you choose?
I chose the OG from the man Walt Disney, the first animated feature film, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs from 1937, that is currently streaming on Disney+.
I don't think I ever saw that film past 10 years old. It's going to be fun to revisit it.
Oh, wow. I've watched it many times. I have 2 VHS copies of it. I think the last time I watched it was actually when I had a VCR, so it's been about 6 years since I've watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I'm very excited to get into it again.
I'm really excited to watch it in 4K.
Oh, me too. Sweet. Well, that is what we're doing next week. Join us if you care to, and follow along if you want to, because these are both great films, and we're looking forward to discussing them. Thank you guys again for joining us. And as always, here at Movies You Miss Podcast, we like to shut down with film is a form of art, and in art, all opinions are valid. Except if you think
Val Kilmer wasn't a good actor.
Ah, yes. Awesome. Well, it was great to celebrate his work this week.
Agreed. Thank you so much for the suggestion.
Absolutely. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers, everybody.
Bye-bye.